Hello guys, hey, this is Robert Jean here in the great state of Oklahoma, actually in my office. It's kind of like my office. It's actually the second desk that I work and do all the editing of videos. And so, today we've got answering questions about how, what, where, and why did I start with, how did we get FasterEFT, how did we get Eutaptics, and all the beginnings, and also answering any questions that anybody would like to have answered. So hey guys, so this is April the, I think, let's see what it is, April the 16th or 18th, actually April the 19th, April the 19th, 1999 is actually when I bought the EFT course from Gary Craig. Of course, that was $169. It was his training course. And then after I bought that course, which is his training course, he had VHS tapes and a book. Also later on, after I started watching this, he also had the Ultimate Therapist training course. And on that course, it had several people. Marilyn Gordon is one of them. Fred Gallo, I believe, was one of them. Dr. Larry Nims was one of them. He's the one that created Be Set Free Fast. And actually looking at Dr. Larry Nims' work is really a major piece of Eutaptics FasterEFT, and that was the mindset or the structure of thinking. Of course I bought it, tapping in 99. My journey started long before that. It started like, where did it start? It started, I'd say really the earliest days is not when I was 15 years old. I moved from my home to my grandparents' house and had nightmares. And so she bought me I asked for this encyclopedia, said it was Psychology Something Today or something, and I was reading this, and then by accident, well, I think it's book number 16 or something, or 9 or whatever it was, and it's talking about the erogenous zones and sexuality and stuff. And I went to a used bookstore, and I saw this book, and I thought it was your, erogenous zones. Actually, it was Wayne Dyer's Your Eronia Zones. I didn't know that until I got home, so I tried to read it. It didn't tell me the things I wanted, but what it did do is it redirected my thinking about my life and about problems. And that started me on a good journey. From that point on, I started studying a little bit about the mind. I studied about hypnosis when I was 15 years old. Of course, my grandmother, she's Christian, and of course she would take me to church, or she enticed me to go to church. I didn't really want to go too much, but I was 15. She had a Galaxy 500 4-door blue car, and she said, "I'll let you drive the car to and from church." So guess what? I was driving the car twice a week, 3 times a week, Sunday morning, Sunday evening, and Wednesday night. So that's my trainings, spirituality, and I started, doing the Christian thing or the Bible thing, and it wasn't working for me too well, So then what I did is I started actually watching I started doing that, and I got confused where I was going. So I started doing the church thing. I started studying and reading the Bible myself, and that became a major part of my training, is learning how the body works and how religions work and how what actually does work, and that's what I started doing, is studying that. And then after that, moving on in life, I studied hypnosis. Of course, they were telling me that hypnosis was bad, it's the devil's work, and that really kind of scared me because I didn't know, I didn't know anything, but it was definitely different. So from that on, moving forward in life, I was still a searcher and a seeker of the truth. Met my wife at the time in church, and because then that was a self-help. I was an avid Bible studier. I didn't take everything that the church was telling me, because I was raised Pentecostal holiness or Assembly of God. And of course, they were speaking in tongues and maybe lots of stuff. It was very exciting. But as my curiosity was to find the truth, and so I would study hours by myself. And it didn't actually go along with what the church was teaching, because I was reading the Bible. And one of the things is some scripture. I said, well, it logically says this, and I would show it to the instructor, and they couldn't see that it was just written out in plain English. And I'm not an English major, and I thought, people are seeing from what they've been taught. So I thought, well, that's my growth part, So anyway, so I was moving through that. Bible college, got married. First child when I was, about 4 months after we got married, 6 months later. Second child was my daughter. We, at that time, there was a lot of stuff going on in our life, and there was a lot of weird stuff going on in the culture. So I was going to be Mr. Mom. So I'd stay home during the day, and at night I'd go to college. Got to be too much for me. So I moved on beyond that. And then I always was still studying, always still studying and learning. I think one of the things that I've learned from this is I actually watching my grandmother, and she still does it today. She's 93 years old. I go to her house. She got her books all around her. She got her notepads, and she's still studying the Bible, And so from that, I just learned to study, watching that. And I learned how to read, actually. I learned how to write, well, somewhat write. Spelling wasn't part of that program, but, I still do the best I can. But, my search was to, and before I got married, my wife said that she was sexually abused by her father. And of course, at my 22 years old, you don't know what to do with that. I mean, I had my own abuses, so how would you deal with that? So it was my passion to, to do the best I could. And, 18 years in the marriage, we had moved, and that's when things really started going crazy. But before that, I bought tape series, and I would buy books at garage sales. And one of the tape series was Anthony Robbins' Your Unlimited Power, which was basically mental mechanics, how your brain actually works. And so I started studying a lot of this, and I would listen to these tapes over and over and over again. And I bought another one of his courses, a 30-day course. And this course really, 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 really changed my life, because it gave me a different perspective about life, different about how the mechanics, how the mind works. And from that point on, I actually learned that I could have a better life, because, behind, what I was doing, I became Mr. Mom watching my kids. And so I saw an ad in the paper about an auto auction. And so I started going to auto auctions and buying these junk cars or impounded cars. And I would pull the motors out and sell them. I would do, just buy and sell them. And so I moved to Yukon, or Mustang actually, and behind my mobile home. Now, 14 by 80 mobile home. I think we paid, about $5,000 for the house, and bought the land from the lady, and they carried the note. So behind my mobile home, I'd have 45 junk cars, and I would sell parts off of them and all this stuff. I'd have grease on my hands and under my nails and calluses, but I was always listening to self-help stuff. That was my growings. But while I was listening to Anthony Robbins, he was saying, being an investor, invest in your mind, invest in your life. And, I'd listen to this stuff all the time while I drive, while I'm working, always in the background. And so this is how I grew. And then he said something about being an investor, and there was a guy across the street bought this 1 acre lot, which I paid $11,000 for mine. He said, I just bought this piece of land for $1,500 or $1,100. I said, how'd you do that? He began to tell me that he went to pay the back taxes. I said, well, how do you do that? And so he kind of told me a little bit. So I went down and I started buying properties. The very first property I bought, within a month later, I paid $450 for it. And I turned around and traded it for a car, a 1967 Pontiac Firebird convertible, and I sold it for $4,500. So within with a month, I made $4,500. So I kept doing this. And so I'd buy another property. I paid $750 for it, and I rented it out for a whole year for like $1,500. And then 10 years later, or 15 years later, I sold it for $40,000. So I ended up having like 11 properties that I would buy, either by someone would lease or carry the note, or I'd buy it on back taxes. So that's how I started growing. But I was investing in myself, still learning, still educating myself. And then, 18 years in the marriage, there was stuff going on in our marriage, and I thought, well, we need to fix this. This is really big. And so I said, we need to find a therapist or therapy. Now, of course, I'm still doing Anthony Robbins. I'm still doing all this stuff. And what's really cool, that was probably in 94-ish or 96-ish, somewhere along that time. And, I got a computer and Windows 3.11. I don't know if you remember that. That's a long time ago. And I created a great skill of downloading things. So I would download a lot of NLP stuff, a lot of Richard Bandler stuff, a lot of the guys who were, self-help stuff. And I would listen to this stuff. That's my mode of listening over and over and over again. So this is my growth. And so as I'm moving through this, because, I have no really formal training. I mean, I dropped out of college because, one, it was too much for me, and I couldn't pass English too. I tried 3 times. So I said, screw this. So, but I still kept studying. And so, even though I didn't finish university, but I did continue learning. And so in 2001, I did go to Richard Bandler's seminar in Orlando, Florida. I started going to seminars and still learning. And so I found a therapist for my wife, and I can't remember what the therapy was, but it was like guided imagery. So he would walk her through a meadow, and he would meet someone in a garden, etc. And it was really helping her. So I started studying everything about trauma, everything about abuse, everything about hypnosis. And then I found this one book called, several books. One of them was Mind Power for the 21st Century. It's a very easy read book. But the one that really started shaking things up a little bit was Mind Power. I think that's it. Let's see. Mind Works is an NLP book. And I started reading this book, and I started using what was in there. And one of them was anchoring, And so basically it was teaching us how the brain works. And so my daughter came in the house one day, and we were talking. I had this trick. I said, this technique I learned called anchoring. I said, hey, Rachel, do you have any memories that bother you? She said, yeah, Daddy, I have one. And I said, well, what is it? Well, we went to a garage sale, and she found this bear, and she asked the lady, was this 10 cents? And she laughed. She said, no, it's $10. And then Rachel got her feelings hurt, and she was running to the car. Now she's telling me this story. She's got tears running down her face. And I said, okay, Rachel, I got a process. I want to work with you. I said, what I want you to do, you have a memory that makes you feel really good. And I said, just close your eyes and think about it. And she had this smile from ear to ear. And I said, reach up and squeeze your left earlobe while thinking about it. And then, all right, now take your hand off, look around, open your eyes. Now go back to this memory again, do it again. And then she'd smile really big. And I said, all right, let's do it one more time. And then she would break state in between, smile really big. And then I said, let's think about this other memory that hurt you. And as you go back there, notice it. And when you feel the pain of it, reach up and squeeze your other earlobe. So she would squeeze this other earlobe. I said, move your thoughts away. And then let's go back and do it again. Squeeze the earlobe. And then so I said, okay, what I want you to do is this. I want you to squeeze this earlobe. And she would just have this sad look. I said, okay, now squeeze this earlobe. And she'd have a smile on her face. I said, okay, now Rachel, this is what I want you to do. I want you to reach up and squeeze both of them off at the same time. Now what happens neurologically, the brain will fire these two things off. Now at that time I didn't know, but now I do know. And I said, she squeezed both of these earlobes. She had this sad look, and all of a sudden she turned into a smile. And I said, okay, Rachel, tell me about the bear. And she just smiled at me and said, Daddy, go away, leave me alone. So here it is. It worked. It changed it. So I said later on, she's doing the dishes. I said, hey, Rachel, when you think about the bear, how you feel? She said, it's no big deal. It doesn't bother me at all. So that was one of the first things. Another memory during this time period, reading the book, is, of course I had, my dad, he was an angry dad. He was the no dad. He would be blowing up dad, and I learned really well. So I have an oldest son. His name's Adam, and Adam comes in and he says, "Hey, Dad, will you take me to he said, "Hey, Dad, can I go to my friend's house?" I said, "Yeah, do you have a ride?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Do you have a way home?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Okay, yeah, sure, you can go." Well, after dark, he calls me and says, "Hey, Dad, will you come and get me?" I said, "Adam, I thought you said you had a ride." He said, "No, I don't. Can you come get me?" I said, "Yeah, I'll come and get you." So I'm going over there. I'm angry. And so he gets in the car. His best buddy gets in the back of him. He's sitting next to me, and I start griping at him. And he had this attitude like, "Yeah, all right, Dad." And so it really angered me even more. So I hit the brakes, said, "Adam, if you don't like it, get out." I didn't say it that way. I said, "Get your butt out." And he starts crying. He said, "Dad, every time you get in the car with you, you're always griping and grumping." And I started thinking about it. I said, he's right, I do. So I'm really stewing now. I get to home and I get out and I go in the house, I bark some orders, and I go to my office, and I'm sitting there stewing. And he's right, I do that, but I don't know why I do that. So I started thinking, I said, well, the book says if you have a bad feeling, you may ask yourself, where'd you get this from? How'd you learn this? And don't answer it, just let it come to you. And so then here it is, I'm waiting, and all of a sudden it gives me a memory. And it gives me a memory when I moved in with my grandparents. My grandfather was also a grumper and a griper, and every time he would take me to and from wrestling practice or any other practice, guess what he was doing in the car? He was grumping and griping. I go, but that doesn't fix the problem. Now I can identify it. Then it says, what would you rather replace it with? Something positive. So I was thinking about it, I said, oh yeah, I got tears in my eyes now. Peace, is when my son was born, I was in the room and they pulled him out and they wiped him off and they gave him to me, and I carried him and I took him down to the nursery. See, then it was like, boom, it collapsed, the griping and grumping. So now I don't gripe and grump in the car. It fixed that one. So it was like a collapsing, and it was convincing me that the power of our mind to heal ourselves. Another thing too is my son. I'm doing seminars now. This we're talking about many years later, probably 10 years later, or 7 years later. I'm doing seminars at the local church. I rent their facilities every Tuesday, and and I'm pretty creative, or I think I'm pretty creative anyway, or smart. I know if I go to KFC after that and it's around closing time, you order, chicken, and they say, well, we don't have enough white meat, so they give you a lot of other stuff. And so I'd go home with all this chicken, and then I get home, we'd have chicken when I get home on Tuesday nights after the seminar. And one of the things Adam says, Dad, every time you come home, you kind of grump and barking orders when you get here. And I looked at him, he was laying on the couch, go, okay, yeah, okay. So it's another program. So even though I did one program, it didn't change the other one, so I had to change that one as well. So again, this is my learnings by reading the book, MindWorks, which is the NLP book. It was out of print, now it's back in print, and I do have those on I do sell those at the seminar as well. So anyway, so this is my progression. So now I'm tapping a lot. I'm using EFT. Now I'm doing the original, real EFT. It's like, even though I have this problem, love and accept myself, this problem, and then doing the humming and the counting and the eye rolling, etc. Now this is the most effective process I've ever found. I use NLP. NLP is good, but it's not so easy to use on yourself. And at the time, when I bought the course, Gary said the cause of all problems is a disruption in your energy system. Well, I already knew from my trainings of NLP that it's not that. It's because your brain has an amazing ability to encode information. And then it starts using its experiences, your life experiences, from that point forward. So that means today's problems were built from yesterday's experiences. And so as I understand that, then I knew that the blocked energy thing just does not work for me. And of course, they're saying the cause of all problems is because there's a disruption in your energy system. Now, I understand now logically why they say that. It's because Gary Craig is coming from TFT, Thought Field Therapy. Dr. Roger Callahan created his model of thinking, basically from Chinese acupuncture, acupressure, And of course, when they use the needles, they're putting it in the points to unblock the meridian. And so this is how it started as blocked energy. And of course, you know, Callahan's work, I've studied his work as well. You know, of course, he says his greatest discovery is psychological reversal. Now, of course, I don't believe in psychological reversal. Gary Craig in the EFT world did at one time. And of course, I've been teaching it doesn't exist. And then they finally recanted that thing. And basically, Callahan says that whenever, you know, no therapy will basically work if there's a reversal in your energy, and different things can cause this reversal, such as your soap that you use, or the toothpaste, or the detergent, whatever. And so, and he could do arm testing. Now, the weird thing about applied kinesiology, there's many variables to this. And so, anyway, so this is where it comes from. Callahan's work was not the first tapping modality out there, but he borrowed from other people. And, you know, Roger now has passed. So anyway, so this is where I'm coming from. So I had to look at this energy model, and my model is a neurology base, which is basically mental mechanics. What are you doing inside your head? How do you represent this? And where are you going? Now, at that time, I didn't know what I do know now, because I'm still building and learning about the brain and how the mind works. I know it's all mental mechanics. And I know that the cause of your problems is because of your holdings of the past, consciously known or unconsciously known programs. So anyway, as I'm moving through this and I'm learning about how the mind works, now logically, I know that one of the books that really started shaking my world and understandings is when I read the book, Monsters and Magical Sticks, There's No Such Thing as Hypnosis. This book here is really turned the pages for me, because what the book is basically saying, I'll summarize it in the shortest way, is that everything you do is basically hypnotic trance. Everything you do is a hypnosis. Now, when you understand the neurology of the mind, you know, we have the limbic system, and of course, basically we have the hippocampus, we got the amygdala, we have amygdala, we have both of them. And what happens is all this data is coming in right now, even as I'm speaking, as I'm telling my stories. The amygdala, I call them, is like two librarians who had 50 cups of coffee. And what they're actually doing is taking everything I say, and it's going into the database, and it's bringing stuff up, and it's taking my stuff and storing it all at one time, and it's super, super fast, and it's so close to what they would call the reptilian brain, but I actually call it the survival brain. And this part of us will help us survive based on your life experiences. So if you've had physical abuse, emotional abuse, trauma, sexual abuse, you've had emotionally controlling people, your amygdala will use the organizational system, the hippocampus, etc., and they will bring up data. Now, of course, what it does is visual construction inside your brain. That means you have images, pictures, movies, slideshows, and then you also have sounds inside your mind, the auditory cortex, and then you also have the kinesthetics, motor cortex, etc., taste, smell, sound, all these. And so they're organized in your brain in clusters. Some are connected to other memories and some may not. So all this happens this fast. Now, of course, it's not blocked energy. It's actually your data is now showing up from your recordings. Now, at that time, I didn't know all that. You know, I just knew that it's internal representation. In order to have a problem, you got to do something right. That means inside you, you've got to go in, you find your resources, your belief systems, and your structure, and all of a sudden you have a problem. Your body responses, and we talk about with this book, Monsters and Magical Sticks, There's No Such Thing as Hypnosis, saying that you're always in a trance. Now, here's the deal. Your amygdala, or not your amygdala, but your limbic system, puts you in what we call an autonomic trance. It means you automatically respond. You don't know why you respond. You don't know why you're crying. You don't know why you're upset. You don't know why you're having a panic attack, because this system is working as a survival system. Now, that's what I didn't know, but I did know that you have memories that create your problems. So I'm moving forward in this process. So here it is in 1999. In 1999, I went to an EFT conference with Gary Craig in Flagstaff, Arizona. and there was like 300 people there. And because, he said something that really turned my world, and that's basically said, you can help more people if you gave seminars. In my mind at that time, internally, my mind created an image in my head called an imprint. And what it did is I saw myself giving seminars to hundreds and thousands of people. Now, let me remind you, I couldn't even stand in front of class. I had public speaking was not my forte. I couldn't do that. Too scared. And it's because of my school traumas, because we were poor kids. My mother at 14 got pregnant, at 15 gave birth to me. Time she was 19, she had 4 kids. We were poor. My dad was a hard worker, is uneducated, and he worked a lot of jobs, and we moved from school to school. So here it is, I rode the small bus to school, literally the small bus to school, the slow kids, because we were uneducated, we weren't that smart, and so we needed the extra help. And so this is where I'm coming from. So as I'm moving through my life, I couldn't speak publicly, but in my mind at that point, I could see that there was hope. And my passion, again, remember, I'm doing NLP. I'm listening to Anthony Robbins, Richard Bandler, Tad James, all these great people, and I would read the books and I would listen all the time, inundate my mind with how the mind works. And then, of course, when I'm using tapping, I had to change how I saw things, because I'm coming from the hardcore Christian model of thinking, and it started challenging my Christian thinking. And I had to go with what was actually true. Now, again, when I say Christian thinking, we're talking about religious training, not necessarily Jesus training, teachings. There is a big difference, but we're not going to go there. Anyway, so we're going back. So now here it is. I'm doing this, and I'm in Flagstaff, Arizona, and there was a woman I was tapping on there at that thing. I'd tap her in between. And then she said, hey, I'm going to go out and see, in Arizona. I said, I'm going to go out and see this shaman guy. Would you like to go with me? I said, well, yeah, sure, I'll go. I'll check it out. So we get to this guy's house, and I look at him. He's sick. He's not well. You can just see he's not well. And I go, well, how can he be a healer if he's sick? And I go, oh, yeah, healers don't actually work on themselves because they don't know how. So anyway, he's using applied kinesiology and doing all these other things. And I thought, that's really cool, interesting. And of course, he's selling something, And he said, hey, for $20, I'll take you out in the backyard and I'll tune you. I said, what does that mean? Well, I'll, give you some good stuff. I said, sure, I got $20. So I got in the backyard. I got my eyes closed. He's rattling beads and chanting some things. And then he walked me through a story. He said, the Christ is in front of you. Now, from my personal training, no one knows what he looks like. Probably some short Jewish guy. And so I'm there, and in my mind, so I imagine a white light. So he says, Christ is going to come over and give you a hug. And when he did, in my mind, I just went like this. I just squeezed him inside me, and it went right through me. And my legs began to get my tingles. And that's when I have like the experience as my legs tingle. And I felt like there was something shifted, even though it was just a visualization thing. And actually, I didn't realize that. But later on, that was in 2000, and in 2002, I created what we call the integration process, and I didn't realize it, but it was because of what I did there. But that was a new thing back then. So anyway, so here it is. I do this stuff, and so then I started thinking, okay, after Gary Craig's seminar, I said, okay, I must present. I said, and then after that experience, I started creating an affirmation in my head. I'm the greatest presenter of all time. I'm the greatest presenter of all time. I didn't tell anybody this. And I would visualize and see myself in front of people. By the way, I was super scared. Now, I think I recently uploaded a video of my very first presentation ever, and it was in front of 300 people, and you could tell I was definitely scared. But I tapped and I tapped and I tapped and I tapped before I got up there, and I tapped and I tapped afterwards. That's when my ball started rolling. Then a woman from Florida invited me to come and do presentations, a guy from Wichita, Kansas. So this is how I started to grow. Now, since I have no formal training, not in psychology, I took Psychology 101 in college. I believe I passed. This is where I'm coming from. So I'm like jumping in with 2 feet, not even know where I'm going. So I'm tapping. I have no training of doing a business. I was tapping on people. A woman gave me $50. I go, well, you can get paid doing this stuff? So then I just kept doing it because my passion was to help people change. This is how I got there, but by helping people. I ran out of gas twice at the same spot. I had a 1962 Plymouth, really cool 2-door car, but the gas gauge didn't work. And so the second time I said, okay, God, somebody's gonna get tapped on. Same 2 people, and I said, do you have a problem? And anything, I'll help you with it. And so this woman had a relationship stuff, so I tapped on it. So whether God meant it to be or I just had to have that attitude, but that's what I did. So I was tapping on everybody, and somebody asked me about, you know, what about your family? Have you tapped on my family? I tapped on everybody in my family until they started running from me, you know, and because, you know, it's different, and I didn't know what I was doing. And EFT, the model of EFT, was not what you call a very acceptable model, because it's energy based, and I'm in Oklahoma. I mean, you drive down a street, you'll see 2 or 3 churches on one street, sometimes even 4 or 5. So it's not easily to accept it. And one of my missions was to make this acceptable for everybody, which means I got to get the fluff out. I got to get the fairies out. I got to get it to where mechanically, why does this really work? How does it work? And then how to apply it, and anybody can accept this. And so that's why I started looking at, well, why are we actually tapping? What are these points we're tapping on? What is tapping for, you know? And at that time, I didn't know. And he asked the EFT guys, I say, why do you tap on these points? We don't know why it works. We just know it works. And it's good to know where the light switch is when you're in the dark, which it doesn't really help a whole lot. But my passion was to figure out mechanically why it really does work. What's really happening? Guys, I know why it works. I know how it works. Matter of fact, I can do it without tapping because I understand mechanics of the mind. And I could tell you later about it. But so here, this is my growth. So here it is. So so now I'm a greatest presenter. So I said, well, okay, if I'm going to be a greatest presenter, what must I do? I must present. Well, the following month, I spoke in front of that 300 people after that experience. And I started affirming, I'm a great presenter. I said, okay, if I'm a great presenter, what must I do? He said, go present. I said, where? That opened up. So then I came back to Oklahoma. There's 2 people at that seminar. They invited me to come and speak. So I went and I started speaking in front of other people, and then that's how I started building skill. Now, by the way, I'm not very good at school stuff, so I just did the best I could. Now, today we have Eutaptics, FasterEFT. We've been through a lot of hurdles. Some of the big things that we've learned over the years that, you know, it separates us from the boys, the men from the boys, and the girls from the women, is some of the process. Now, we made a lot of mistakes. We didn't know what we were doing because we found new stuff, we just try it. And of course, I wasn't trained in all this stuff, so I'm just growing along. And people would start saying, well, Robert, you need to do this. Robert, you need to do that. Well, you know, that's how I started growing and how I created what I'm doing. So I'm moving through, so now I'm presenting. So I presented Jacksonville, Florida, the first seminar I did by myself. And then I started going to Wichita, Kansas. There was a dentist there. He invited me, and I came, and I started presenting. 21 seminars there. And I said, why aren't you doing it in Oklahoma? I said, it's easier to do it here because, you know, I don't know how to run a business. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. You know, I have no business training whatsoever. Junk cars and parts, that's about it. So then I started doing seminars in Oklahoma, and I just started building momentum. There was a lady at a health fair, it was a psychic fair. I went to psychic fair, and I'm trying to share there. There was a lady, an older lady, probably in her 70s or so, and she said, hey, what do you do? And I said, well, I know how the mind works, and know how stress and emotions work, and I can help change any bad memory. And she goes, well, you should come to our church. I said, well, you know, I've tried the church thing. And she said, well, ours isn't a normal one. I said, I never saw one of those. So I decided to go, and I went there, and they were teaching the same thing I'm teaching about how the mind works and all this stuff. I said, hey, can I rent your hall? So I would rent on Tuesday nights, and I started doing presentations there. And there's a lot of stuff I learned there, too, about the mind. So then on my progression. So then I started doing presentations. Every Tuesday, I do 2 free seminars. Every Tuesday I do, and then the second one would be free, and then I do a paid seminar. I would sometimes have 5 people. Sometimes I would have 10, and then later in the years, I did this for 8 years, by the way. So now I'm building what you call communication skills and training skills. If you see my videos, and they got the blue screen behind me, that's from that church. And of course, my son, Matthew, my youngest son, I paid him to come and help me do that for years. And I edited all the videos on my Mac. I created DVDs myself. I tried the VHS tapes back in those days. It was too difficult. So this is, and it's all from my garage, by the way, from my home, and then I moved out to my garage. And so as I started doing this, people, started, liking what I do. I'd have 130 people in the seminar. I would do this. And then in 2007, I uploaded my very first video on YouTube. It's about a woman who had a fear of tornadoes, and I uploaded it and she didn't want it up there, so it was removed. But I started doing this, and the reason why I saw these videos on YouTube about tapping, I go, God, people need something better than this. And so I started uploading videos. Now I've got about 1,300 videos up there now, 1,500 maybe. And the whole purpose was to educate people and to help people. I didn't know that was marketing. I just thought I was trying to help. So that's how it built over time. So then as I'm doing this, I was not making any money. I wouldn't even try. And I'd have people come to my office and I'd do a session and they would leave and they'd call me on the phone. I said, Robert, was I supposed to pay you? I said, oh yeah, you were. And should I come back? I said, oh yes, you need to come back. So I had to learn how to do a business. I didn't know about marketing. I'm learning now more over time. So this is my progression of my system. And of course, as I'm moving through this, we have all kinds of people who come in, because I never, the last job I ever had was delivering pizza when I was 24. So that's the last job I ever, never been in an office basically. And so now I've got an office staff, and I got stuff, and it's like, what do I do? So that's another area definitely to learn and grow in. So I'm moving along. And then I don't know what year it was. I don't know if it was 2007, 2006. Here I'm using EFT, and Gary Craig came out and said, you can't use EFT anymore. And of course, then Gary Craig had all these lawsuits against him. And of course, I'm using EFT. Now, my thinking with this EFT, now this was my goal ever since, is I'm building this system up because see, when I watched The Ultimate Therapist by Gary Craig, he had all these different people, and he said in the video, hey, take what we're doing here and improve it, and we'll make it all better, and we'll work together. So my whole goal was to take this EFT, make it really, really good, and then I would be a part of this team. That was my goal. That's what I wanted. All right, so I was working really hard, and I went to a seminar, and I gave him my DVDs. I gave Ann Adams the DVDs, and he said he'd watch them. I thought, well, he's going to let me be a part of his team. Never heard anything from him. So later on, he said you can't use EFT, and there was all these lawsuits against him. And apparently, I don't know the whole story why, but apparently the people with training were actually doing these things, and they were making money, and maybe he was trying to get control of that. And so anyway, I don't know what exactly why. But he had all these lawsuits against him, and then he had a heart attack, and then as a rebuttal to what they were doing, he gave EFT to the world. So that means anybody can teach EFT. That means anybody can train EFT. Anybody can be a trainer of EFT. And so now EFT is free, but while he said you can't use EFT, I thought, well, shoot, I've been doing all this work. What do I call it now? So I thought, well, I'll call it electronic file transfer. Oh, that's already taken. So I thought, well, I'll call it emotionally focused transformations, because we are changing emotions and we're transforming them. And then later on, he said you can use it. So I said, well, we'll just call it FasterEFT. If EFT is growing, people will want something faster. So that's what I called it. Of course, now as I'm doing this, I'm tapping. It gets a little bit richer later on because Gary Craig had created a campaign to help me encourage my system, which I needed to be encouraged to be better, and that's what we did. 2015, we started having training meetings to help make the system what we call on a professional level. Since EFT can be trained by anybody can create their EFT universe, FasterEFT has only been trained by me. Now, of course, I've been traveling around the world, countries, and sharing. Definitely new things. There was a big riff in Oklahoma when the Crossfire was created. Now, when Linda Esser, because I was running the church every Tuesdays, and there was times that I'd be out of the country, and I said, Linda, won't you start giving seminars there at the church? And so she had given seminars, and so she was giving a seminar, and I came to one of her seminars as a weight loss seminar. And so she was talking, and I was talking, and you know, she felt nervous, and I came up, and she and I we didn't know it was a crossfire. Both of us tapped on this person at the same time. And it was really good. It was really interesting. I go, wow, too bad I'm always by myself. That's my thought, but it was interesting. Well, later on in 2010, 2012, a practitioner who had a lot of emotional issues, a lot of sensitivities, a lot of stuff. You know, she was in the back seat of the car, and Dave Ryder, and I think maybe Kim or somebody else, they both was tapping on her, and they said, hey, this really was very effective. I go, oh, yeah, I did that once. And I said, well, maybe we should revisit this. So there wasn't any structure at first, and it was like bombarding, you know, and there was like call outs and craziness. I said, hey, listen, guys, we got to clean this up. You got to handle it like a real session. But the crazy thing is that this is so deep. It's deep unconscious changes. And if you have a lot of stuff will boil out, and there could be oftentimes, an autonomic response or an abreaction to the shift. And of course, some people got scared of it because, you know, this is very rich stuff. So then, you know, there's people who thought it was bad and all this stuff, but it is, if you want the biggest and best changes, is a crossfire, because it bypasses conscious control and it allows two great trained practitioners. Now, you've got to be trained in FasterEFT and Eutaptics because we know the structure of the mind. We have the art of change. It's how to go inside, elicit emotional strategy, understand how you do it, why you do it, where you do it, what's important for you to do it, and then you go at the person at the same time. There's defractionation. You know, we talk about, why does tapping work? I know why it works. Matter of fact, you can see some of my videos is that how we can make super big changes, and that is by defractionation. Now the reason why, neuroscience-wise, I'm going to pause here. Neuroscience. So neuroscience, like Julia Shaw, not Julia Shaw. She is really good too. Danielle Schuler. She neuroscientist. And one of the things is they're doing some work and showing how the brain updates itself. And they also were showing how you can create a fear. And they're working through this. And so what they've done is they realized that at the point of accessing a memory, if they were to inject a drug at that point, the memory will be dissipated. Well, you don't need a drug to do that. Actually, you just need what I teach, because we created what you call defractionation. This is a major part of the shifting and changing, and how I discovered it by accident when I was giving a seminar back, I don't know what year, 2000 something, who knows when. I did a presentation, and I was doing a session with a woman who had an emotional issue, and she just started wailing and crying. And I started tapping on top of her head. I said, good job, get it all out. And she's in her autonomic response. She's in this trance. I go, oh, shoot, what do? I said, hold on a second. Hey, where'd you get those shoes? And she goes, what? I said, where'd you get those shoes? She said, oh, I bought them somewhere. And then I used the quick tap. And a quick tap is address the unconscious memories. And then I said, all right, go back to this again. Boom, right down there crying again. But it wasn't as loud. And I tapped on top of her head, said, good job, get all out. I said, hey, hold on a second. Hey, did you buy one pair or did you buy two shoes? She goes, no, I think about one pair. I said, okay, and I did it again. So I kept doing this over and over again. Her screams were like this, like this, like this, and then boom, gone. And so the big deal of this, of what we're doing, is actually rewriting the neurology of the mind. Because see, when you go into a problem, you're going into a hypnotic state. And if you can defrac it or blast it with something, you can actually collapse the memory and the emotional intensity of the memory, and you can do it very quickly. And like for example, I used a fart app on a phone to totally dissipate a rape memory. And I did it in 11 minutes, 12 minutes. And so what we're now doing is, you can see some of the videos. I have one where a woman who, her sister died and she lost her job. And once you get the brain to collapse the memory, and it'll collapse it with laughter, and that means you introduce something that doesn't fit, and all of a sudden there's a laughter, and you can totally change a memory. And you can do it very quickly, and you can even do it with words without even tapping. So I discovered that what we're actually doing is doing what the brain naturally does to update memory. And how it updates memory, it's very simple. And sometimes, you know, when you work from inside your head, that means when you go to your memory and you have a picture inside your head, that's one part of the brain. And also when you go inside your head and you have a sound or you have a sensation, these are all different parts and you must rewire from inside. That means hit the parts and pieces and you totally change it. So this is the progression. And since you know, this is a business, and of course, like other businesses, some businesses are jealous of your success, and it's been a part of my system as well. There has been, you know, the EFT, the EFT people have seen what I do, and it's not EFT per se. It is tapping as EFT model. I modeled after EFT. I started training 2 days like EFT did. I didn't know anything about training, so I modeled after it. Then I realized 2-day training is not enough. I mean, we're talking about deep neurological shifts. We're talking about people with severe physical illnesses. We're talking about people who have been diagnosed with a disorder, which in my world, there are no disorders, just talents and skills and coping mechanisms. You go and you change what's driving it. You actually dismantle disorder by really changing memories. And changing memories is the key. The cause of all problems is memory. The cause of all problems is how you represent things. The cause of all problems is internally yours, and you can change that. This is where we're coming from. So this is how Eutaptics. So now, you know, I've been training EFT, FasterEFT. I'm an EFT master, by the way. I'm EFT master through Sylvia Hartman. I've been doing this since '99, but there is an evolution, a big evolution. And the mindset that I have is a total different mindset and model of thinking than just the EFT model, because it's not blocked energy, it's internal creations and survival systems. And so we created what we call Eutaptics. Eutaptics is the professionally trained system that has a standard that everyone who comes through must know and must be trained in a way that they actually know how to work with. The sensitive ones, the super sensitive ones, knows how to deal with PTSD, trauma, knows how to work with children, knows how to work with sports performance, knows how to work with weight, addictions, fears, phobias, traumas. All of these things can be done once you have the adjustability within a system. So we don't have just tapping. Tapping is a sideline. It's the mind system. It's how the mind thinks. This is how we get to where we are. So again, as some people say, I have an office, and of course the office staff is changing. There's a lot of work to do, and it is a growth system. Yes, I know that we've hired new office staff, and things are growing and changing just like any other business, and we're building a foundation because things are going to get bigger as we move along. And it's a growth system. So I really appreciate the people who have said, hey, let me help you. Hey, I want to be a part of this. You know, next thing is as we're continuously growing and improving the system, the training is getting better. We're working on a new website. We have a new training system. We're using LMS for the system, which is much easier, cleaner than we've been using WordPress system. But we're moving through this, and I know there's been a lot of stuff. We have a lot of people we're training. I don't know anything about the Enneagram. I don't know anything about that. So I got a bunch of questions. Let me see right here. Any private online mentor retreat coming up? That's something I will do. Private online mentor retreat coming up, because I did 2 of them this year. One of them about weight loss, and if you really want to go, if you really want to learn how to lose weight, it has not much to do with the food, but it has a lot to do with the emotional conditionings of you and food and relationships, and it is online. I also did one about how to change your life, working on that mentoring program. That's available as well. I will do some more in the future. I get ready to start doing some traveling, so it won't be so easy for me, but I will. All right, did you tap on your mom, grandma, and siblings, or any other your family members? Yes, I have tapped on everybody. I tapped on, and my brother-in-law said, hey, you don't need to be tapping on my family. You could kill them with that tapping. I said, I don't think so. So I had to threat getting my butt whipped on that one. Who's the author of Mind Works? I don't know. You have to look that one up. Just Google it. I've been to Richard Bandler, spent 2 weeks with Richard Bandler. I like Richard Bandler's stuff. I like his stuff. He's not what you call a teacher, he's a programmer. So, and that's what he does. I've spent years listening to Richard. Have you ever tried Sedona method? No, I haven't, but people tell me that I'm doing the Sedona method. Basically pieces of it, or they're doing my piece, whatever it is. Can you heal my TMJ with FasterEFT? I can't heal anything with FasterEFT, but I can use my system to address the emotional system, the stresses, the worries that drive your TMJ. I've had many people who had TMJ, and they go back and they drive what's driving their life. Usually if you look at your life, there's things that's bothering you, you got emotional systems going on, you got issues going on. If you change this, you'll affect your TMJ. I've had people come for years, they've been TMJ, they've been surgeries, they did all this stuff, they still got it. And we go back, we address some memories where dad had slapped her face and her brain had encoded this memory in the mind, but made it real in the body. And what is happening is that her mind is trying to keep her safe with the TMJ. We address the memory, all of a sudden TMJ pain is gone. She's had a lot of surgeries on it. So it is the brain. The brain has this ability to hold on pain from your past and reuse your pain today in your jaw or any other parts of your body. So this is how it works. All right, somebody's asking, is it good to use negative statement when you tap? Why does the subconscious not recognize negative words? So let me be honest with you. Words aren't negative. Words aren't positive. We give meaning to everything. So if you have a negative word, you tap that word to where it's not negative. That word is a metaphoric expression of your life and experiences to the brain. Now, we've talked about the brain itself, the neurology, the recording system, your unconscious. It's an intelligent idiot. It doesn't have bad or good. It only has survival. So that means if you're having a panic attack, that's not bad to the unconscious. The unconscious says, it's safe to have a panic attack now. We're trying to keep you safe from something bad happening. So the subconscious is a child. It only gives back to you. It's a survival system. It's going to give back to you panic attacks, fears and phobias. It's going to make you cry when you shouldn't be. It makes you cold when you should be warm because it has programs. And when you change the programs in your unconscious and the memories, consciously or unconsciously known, you can set yourself free from any physical ailment, pretty much. Your eyes are blue, they'll always be blue. Get over that. Hi, Robert. I use your tapping daily and I love it. Have you trained anyone in the UK who can be recommended? There's a lot of people who are trained in the UK. We do seminars every year in the UK. We have upper level practitioners there. We are getting ready to go to the UK. We got level 1 and 2 in Greece. So if you're in UK, come to the warm, sunny Greece. Come spend a month with us, go through level 1 and 2, and when you leave, you will not be the same person. You will have really changed. You need to do your work from level 1, do your swaps, do your practices, get your sessions, and you will be a different person. I guarantee you that. Just do the work, change your head, you'll be different. There are a lot of practitioners. And by the way, there's a lot of people all around the world you can do sessions with. All right, what's another one here? Often tap until 0, but the change of faces and places are really difficult to get. What is the piece of resistance stopping the process just before the end? Well, again, we don't tap until 0, we tap until we get smiles. So if you're not finishing and completing the whole memory system, basically the visual system, the kinesthetic system, the auditory system, taste and smell, there's a reason why you're not changing it. It's because there's something you're not finishing. Either we have 6 ways of rewriting a memory or re-imprinting a memory. Using all 6 will help you rewrite this. You're not done until the memory has been rewritten. And that's the key. So if you don't know how to do that, I recommend taking the online training course. We have level 1 online. You can change yourself and you need to change yourself. This is this first start. You don't have to be a practitioner to do this course, but it will give you the keys to how to change your memory and get control of your life. Resistance. The resistance is saying, hey, you're not finished. You've got to finish up. When you find resistance, you found the key to healing yourself. Jump into resistance and clean whatever it is up. You may want to get you one of my trained practitioners as well. Is the integration process? The integration process sends me often to other stuff. And I really try to aim first issue because I want to integrate what I worked on. Am I doing something wrong? Well, probably you're not doing anything wrong, but what you are doing is probably you're not finishing up. Like, it's hard to integrate if you got, say you got your mother in front of you, or your dad, or your sexual abuser, or your trauma, and you're gonna try to integrate them, and you've got so many memory resources against this person, then you won't be able to integrate. Your mind will not let you because you didn't finish the job. So you're gonna have to go back and finish the job. That means finish your belief system, change the memories that support the problem. Well, FasterEFT is really easy to work with anxiety and depression. It's super simple. The problem is if you don't know what you're doing, it's very difficult. If you're not trained and you don't know how the mind works, it's hard to do. There's many pieces to this. FasterEFT works on every person except dead people. And the reason why it works on every person, because we go inside your head, we look at what you're doing inside yourself, and we decode it, and then we rewrite it. It'll work on you. Now, it's not like a blanket cookie cutter system, because you have anxiety and the person next to you have anxiety is created totally different. So we would do two different things and address it two different ways. So if you think it's just FasterEFT is tapping, say let it go, you're missing the boat. It's about how do you know you're doing it? What are you doing inside your head? You got to change your belief system. You got to change your ideology and how you see the world. You change the memories, whatever it is. Then you can create the change. So again, it is not tapping. It is memory and how you hold it and how you represent it. It will work with you, but if you don't know what you're doing, it's almost like someone who goes to the furniture store at IKEA or somewhere, and they buy this desk they want to put together, and they can't put it together. They try to read it and they can't get it right. And the reason is they don't know what they're doing. But if you have somebody who can actually read it and apply it and use it in a practical way, it can be done. Some brains are a little bit more complex. Some people have more memories and references that keep you locked in. And if you don't work with those fine pieces, it'll be more difficult. So the adjustability in the system is adjusting to how you think and how you specifically process it. Some people are just drama queens, and they've been drama queens all their life. As a matter of fact, they have drama with no drama. And so you're gonna have to change your belief systems and what you're doing and why you do it. Some people a little bit more work. Some people super simple. It depends on how you hold memories. All right, so how do you know what memories are the ones you need to change? It's simple if they're bad. If it's not positive memories, if it doesn't bring out a positive result, if it's not pleasant, if it has anything this is how you know if it's a good memory to change. If it's a memory you'd like to give to your children, if you don't want to give it to a child, an innocent child, then you need to change it. Now remember, any memory you hold inside your head, your brain will reuse it again. It's the first green machine. It recycles. So anything you have, any memory, any reference you have in your head, your brain will reuse it on you in the future. Ask yourself, is this what I want to re-experience again? Now usually the bad ones show up not when you're the strongest. Usually it's when it's the worst day of your life. It'll start using those memories to torment you. So you need to make sure you change all of them. To inoculate problems in your future is to change your past. Change your parents, how you represent your parents. Change how you represent your grandparents. Change every memory that's unpleasant, and then you'll change your life. All right. Enneagram, I don't know anything about that. Can a food allergy be cured if started at 9 months old? Meaning it's most likely physical and not emotional. Leaky gut is a huge reason for the allergy. Now, of course, I am no expert at this stuff, but I will say this. If a child has it, they have it. When they get older, the brain can heal it. I've seen many people who've had severe allergies to things, peanuts, walnuts, milk, and they go back and they change their memories and references. It changes the allergy. Because see, again, there is a physical component, yes, but there is also the brain component, which can override any physical component. And matter of fact, you can use your brain and give yourself an illness. People do it all the time. They worry about things, they make up stuff, and they get sick. And they even go and read stuff on the internet to see how it works to create more. So this is the bizarre thing. All right, somebody just asked a question, but anyway. All right, so Can it help that? Yes. Now, how do you do it? It's simple. Use the art of change, get the structure, see what is internally going on, and then you can change that as well. There's a little bit more complexity. I do talk about this, a lot of stuff there's a lot of videos on YouTube and also definitely in level 1 training. Let's see. Sometimes I tap for 2 hours on the memory that does not want to flip. Am I doing something wrong? First of all, memories don't have a choice to flip. It's your memory and you change it. Again, if you don't know what you're doing and you don't know how to flip a memory, you can tap all day long and you can tap for 20 years and never get a result. But if you know the nuances, and that's the parts and the pieces and the structure behind a memory, you can rewrite it. I always say your defract must be bigger than the problem. That means you got to use something that will blast this and change it. Again, if you're not taking the training course and you're not actually using the 6 different ways of re-imprinting memories, sometimes it'll take a while. Some people are super easy. If it's not going very quickly, you have a structure behind this, and there's a reason why you can't change this memory, because your brain says, we need this memory to keep you survived, help you survive, because we have proof behind you in your unconscious that this bad thing's gonna happen. This is why we're giving you this problem. So you must work hard to change that. You can do it. I mean, there's a lot of memories change super easy. Some of the ones that don't change super easy is because you've got a lot of resources. You've got a lot of memory proofs inside your head. So you can change that. Again, if I got $1 for every time somebody says, I've been tapping all day and I'm not getting results. And that's with EFT and also FasterEFT, because people watch YouTube and they think they know FasterEFT. You don't. I mean, this much is on YouTube. This is this much that you can't even see that I train. And you ask the people who've been in training. Level 1 is 7 days. Level 2 is 7 days. Level 3 is 7 days. Level 4 is 7 days. And that's not counting all the hours and hours of practice and the tests they go through and to make sure they know, and the personal changes. You know, you won't be the same person after you're done. A lot of personal changes because you're required to work on yourself and to learn how the brain works. All right, so what's another one? How do I know how do I know I have worked? How do I know what I have to work on to let go of TMJ? Well, there's several things. You can get TMJ represent, I don't know your life. So again, you're gonna say, what is wrong with TMJ? How do I know? What's going on in my life? Now, one of the books I recommend is this one here. It's backwards for you, but it says The Secret Language of the Body. This is a guide. If you look up TMJ, look at the memory references. Now, I'm not gonna look it up, but I'm gonna pick one. Neck here, for example, it says relationship problems, inability to communicate feelings, difficulty making commitments, all right? So you look at this and you say, okay, how does this apply to my life? Do I have relationship problems? Write them down. Do I have difficulty in communicating my feelings? Yes. When do you have those problems? And then what you do is you get your memory list. Then after you get your memory list, you go start changing the memories. That's how you find it. So there's a lot of different ways that our brain will create this. So this is just one book. Metaphysical Anatomy is another great book. And by the way, this is a guide. This is not gospel truth. See if it works for you. I like the emotional stuff, the could be emotional stuff, because anyway, you're going to change your own head and change your memories. I don't particularly care about the energy stuff in this, but I do like the practicality that you can use it to change memories. Because the truth is, if you want a better life, it starts this way. You must change your inner resources. You must change what you do to yourself every day within yourself. All right? Any tips for having a rough time working on one thing at a time? Any tips having a rough time? Why can't you work on one thing at a time? For example, stuff keeps coming up. I guess it's a program wanting immediate healing. Well, here's the deal. It's just focus. If other things come up, you can write it down and go back to the one you're doing and then continue tapping. Now, if you get an upper level practitioner, we've trained them to how to address many memories at one time. There is a structure to memories. Memories are stored in clusters in the brain, and there are networks there. Sometimes you work on one memory, many memories will fade, or maybe not, depends on how you wire it in your brain. But you can make changes. Now, sometimes it's a little bit harder because if you don't know what you're doing, it's like I have this Mac right here. All right, now I can take this Mac apart and I can change memory. I think you can change memories. And some of them you can change the memory. I change the hard drive out. And the reason why I can do it is because I have training. Now, if you don't have training, you can't do it because you don't know what you're doing. It's like if you go to my next door neighbor who's a plumber and you've got panic attacks, you go to him and he says, "Hey Joe, I got panic attacks." He goes, "Man, there's something wrong with your pipes. There's something broken in there. I don't know what to tell you. You know, maybe some Drano or do a plunger on your face or something." Because if they don't know how to change your problems, and if you go to a system that doesn't know how to change the cause of all problems, which is what? Memory. You must change memory. If you don't change memory, you don't change the problem. You change how you represent it. So that's how you do it. So pick one memory. If other memories pop in, write them down. And then finish up, then go back and work on those. Sometimes you do the one, then the others may fade too. And I am done with all the questions, and it's already been 1 hour. I hope this has been helpful for you guys. Hey, we're going to do a lot of seminars. We got one in Baltimore coming up. It'd be a good thing to come and see me in Baltimore. It's a Heal Your Body. It's a 3-day course, $4.99. It will change your life. It'll set you forward. It'll get you moving to where you want to be. There'll be a lot of tapping on 2 days of it. Also, we've got, I'm going to go to Greece level 1 and 2. Spend a month with me in Greece and you'll come back a new person. Also, what else we got? After that, come back to Oklahoma. We got Oklahoma level 2 in July and level 4 in June. Then we're going to go to Vegas, and I think we got a Heal Your Body 6-day Heal Your Vegas seminar. Right now it's really cheap, sign up. And then also a level 1. Also after that, I do believe we're going back in October. We're going back to Greece for level 3. And also we're going to go to Germany for level 1 and Romania. If you hadn't been to Romania, I haven't been there yet, but I'm looking, Berlin, that's right. We're going to Berlin for level 1. No, that's it, Germany, right? And then in Romania, which would be kind of cool, go to Romania. It'll be Heal Your Body seminar. So this is the plan. I do also think we're talking, I don't have setting. I know some of you guys are drilling, wanting to come to a level 4 in Europe. And I'm really contemplating going to maybe Croatia. I don't have any plans. I don't have any dates. I have nothing set yet. It'll be November, December somewhere. But anyway, these are the thoughts. I also am going to the UK in June and going to a drug rehab. I'm going to do some talk there. We're going to set up some research on working on addicts. So that may be a new place that we'll be going to in the future. We're going to do some training for that. Also, if you hadn't seen my work with the drug stuff, it is profoundly effective. I do know how the mind works. I know how to create deep unconscious shifts, and my practitioners do too as well. That's why we have so many amazing testimonials. So, hey guys, do go to the website. We'll put a link here. We also have new training system going on Talent LMS. We don't have it linked up to FasterEFT yet, but we will be working on a new website, skillsofchange.com. And if you're a FasterEFT person, come to the new training. It will move you forward and faster, because our whole goal is to create a system that everyone will come to, and that is a well-trained practitioner who is so adjustable they can address any problem and understand how problems work and help make changes in people's lives. So it's been a journey for me. It's definitely been fun. I tell you what, it's some really fun times 2015 forward, because things are growing really fast, and I have a lot of people supporting me and improving the system to make it the #1 healing modality in the world, and that's my goal. And of course, you know, in everything I do, I try to do it the best I can. You know, of course, I stumble and fall on my face occasionally, but you know what? That's part of growth. So anyway, I love you guys. Keep tapping on yourself, and let me give you one more message. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of the memories you hold within you. If you learn how to love yourself and like yourself from within yourself, that means what you do to yourself. It's the feelings and emotions and how you do yourself. You will give to your children. You'll give to other people. Learn how to like you from inside you. That means make peace with your own head. Thank you guys, and talk to you later. Peace. See you.